Welcome into another video. This time we're going to talk about the top 24 players that I have currently ranked pre-draft for a redraft league. And we're doing about half PPR. These are the rankings that's coming out right now. And I just want to kind of talk to you guys and have a conversation on who I have in my top 24 and why I have them in my top 24. And then we'll see how it changes after the NFL draft, see if we have anybody going up, going down. I'm sure positions are going to change just based on people, how they get drafted. So, but as of right now, I thought it'd be kind of fun for us to go through and to kind of look and see who I have currently right now in my top 24, and then we'll be able to look at that later and to see how things change. ADP could change, all types of things could change, and that's what we're doing here. We're trying to help you guys win some championships, and the research starts now. You have to get in and do your dirty work now. You can't just show up in August and expect to win a championship. That's not how it works. We're here at this channel at the Bayou Bingo Fantasy Network. We're going to give you all types of information to help prepare you for not only your fantasy football drafts, but the entire season, all season long. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Would really help the channel out and would also help your fantasy team out. Let's go ahead and get started and talk about the number one fantasy player that I have right now in redraft leagues, and that's going to be Justin Jefferson. Jefferson does lose Adam Thielen on the other side, so that may be even more targets coming his way. We're going to have to see if they add any more wide receiver depth for the into this NFL draft. If not, KJ Osborne's probably going to be on the outside of Justin Jefferson. And that's going to bode well for Jefferson. I think he's already seeing coverage over the top with the safeties. He's already seeing the number one cornerbacks. That's not going to change. The only thing that's going to change is that Kirk Cousins is probably going to look his way more early and often. There's also some rumors going on right now that Dalvin Cook could be released. So it could be pretty much the Justin Jefferson show. He's young enough to make things happen. He's talented enough to make things happen. And they throw the ball all over the field. And he's somebody that if you can take on your team, you know it's a set it and forget it type of guy. You don't have to worry about, well, is he going to get me 1 point or 2 points? There's most of the time, I'd say probably 80 to 90% of the time, he's going to get you some type of points to where it could just add up to a win for your team. He's not going to disappoint you very much. So he's clearly the number one guy. He's been my number one guy for a couple years now. It's just, you can't get any better than Justin Jefferson. You pick him, you can probably get him probably mid round of the first round. Some people are even taking him at the very beginning of the round. He could even be the number one overall pick for you. I wouldn't bat an eye at that. He is just that good and just that talented. So let's move over here to number 2, and I have Jamar Chase. He is another kind of electrifying, lightning in a bottle type of wide receiver. He has a very good rapport with Joe Burrow. You can't really go wrong with Jamar Chase. I do like Jefferson as of right now. I think he's got more of a target share into that offense. Jamar Chase does have to share with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So he has a little bit more competition as far as for targets go, which is why I have Justin Jefferson edging out Jamar Chase just a little bit, but he has just as much talent as Justin Jefferson. So you can't really go wrong with him at number 2. Some people might take him early in the draft. Some it might be a mid-round kind of wide receiver that you take, depending on who, if you value those running backs. But in a redraft league, you can start at a half PPR, even a full PPR league, grabbing either Justin Jefferson or my number 2 ranked guy, Jamar Chase. You can't go wrong with these guys. He's going to be able to give you some weeks that are just absolutely outstanding. He's going to give you those. I think he probably has a higher ceiling on a lot of these games. Jamar Chase can take a 60-yard bomb to the house. It's just Joe Burrow likes to launch it down the field. You really can't go wrong, and that's what lands him as my number 2 guy for redraft as of right now, pre-draft. Let's go ahead and go to our 3rd guy, and I'm going to slide in there Christian McCaffrey. This guy is absolutely electrifying as long as he could stay on the field and be healthy. I know he's got this injury-prone label. I mean, he was able to play last season quite a bit. It was 2 seasons ago where he got hurt. So he's on the 49ers offense. They have a good defense. They have a good offensive line. So he's able to get a lot of good plays. Now, they do have this kind of injury history with the 49ers where all their running backs seem to get hurt for some reason. Well, hopefully that's not the case for Christian McCaffrey. He's going to have yet another good season. As long as Brock Purdy can come back healthy after his surgery, they look primed for another run into the playoffs. So Christian McCaffrey should be a big part of this offense. He catches a receiver. He's probably one of the best receiving running backs in the NFL, if not the best receiving running back in the NFL. And when he can touch it, he's got jukes, he's got jives, He's got all types of moves that can kind of break him free and let him run to the house. So Christian McCaffrey definitely coming in here as my 3rd ranked player right now in redraft leagues. And like I said, before the NFL draft. So we're going to go over to our next, and I'm going to say it's going to be Jonathan Taylor as my number 4. He had a disappointing season last season, but I do like what they're going to be doing on offense. They should be getting a new quarterback. I think they're done with the Matt Ryan stuff. That's not going to happen again. As long as they get a quarterback that can kind of push the ball and get some first downs, Jonathan Taylor is somebody you can definitely depend on. We have to remember, he's just 2 years ago, he ran away and was the number 1 fantasy player for y'all's team. So a lot of people are kind of righting the ship. They kind of got burnt a little bit, and they're like, yo, I don't know if I want to mess with Jonathan Taylor anymore, but I'm telling you guys right now, you've got to check out Jonathan Taylor. Do your research on this guy. See how he's playing, because he could be the key. You could probably get him a little bit later. He was the number 1 pick in a lot of NFL drafts or NFL fantasy drafts last season. He's going to fall a little bit. You could probably get him at pick 3, pick 4, pick 5. And it could be an absolute steal, because he could be the number 1 fantasy producer for fantasy football in 2023. So I got him slotted right now at number 4. Let's move over to number 5 right now, and I'm going to talk about Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a definition boom or bust type of player. This dude can get you, 150 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns in any given game. He is just that talented. They call him a cheetah for the reason. He's got speed for days. Now, his fantasy production pretty much lands on the health of Tua. If Tua can stay out of concussion protocol, I think Tyreek Hill, he can go through the roof. He could be the number 1. He can have more fantasy points than Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. He's got that type of talent. Yeah, he's getting a little bit older, but he's still got the wheels. So he's somebody, it's really fun if you get him on your team. He's a really fun player to have. I actually had him on one of my main leagues teams a couple years ago. Absolutely fun, because when he has those blow up, 30, 35 point fantasy games, you're over there dancing, clicking your heels. It's just that kind of guy. They got Jalen Waddle on the other side, kind of pulling a little bit coverage off of him. But Tyreek Hill, you really can't go wrong with that guy in a redraft league. He's number 5 on my list. And that's about it. Let's go ahead and move over to number 6 right now. We're going to talk about CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's starting to come into his own. I like the production that he's having with Dak Prescott. They just got Brandon Cooks. That should probably help a little bit of the coverage as well. They got rid of Zeke Elliott. They have Tony Pollard as the number 1 running back right now. They don't have Dalton Schultz anymore at tight end, so that's even more targets probably going to CeeDee Lamb. Somebody you can really rely on week in and week out. CeeDee Lamb is a true number 1 wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. And you could probably get him, late of the first round and have a solid fantasy wide receiver for your team. Nothing wrong with that. CeeDee Lamb is somebody you should probably be targeting in your fantasy drafts, because 2023 could be quite of a big year. He's consistent. He's somebody you can count on. Get him in your lineup. Let's move over now to number 7. I'm going to go wide receiver Stefan Diggs. Diggs was, since coming over from Minnesota to Buffalo now for a couple seasons, has really become Josh Allen's type of go-to guy. He's somebody you can depend on. When they need a first down, they're throwing it to Stefan Diggs. When they need to get a touchdown, they're looking at Stefan Diggs. Diggs is very, very involved into this offense, and because of the way Josh Allen runs with his legs, defenses have to stay honest. They can't just let's turn our backs and go into coverage, because they got to make sure Josh Allen isn't running it down their throat. Josh Allen also has a cannon for an arm. He can zoom in and out with these balls, and I'm telling you, Stefan Diggs has the hands. He can catch. He's made some spectacular catches, and Stefan Diggs is definitely worth either a late first round, early second round type of pick in fantasy drafts. You really can't go wrong with the guy. Stefan Diggs definitely landed at number 7 on my redraft rankings. Let's move over to number 8 now, and I'm going to go Cooper Kupp. A lot of people may not be like, whoa, Cooper Kupp, I don't know about. We have to remember what Cooper Kupp did. Cooper Kupp was a number 1 fantasy wide receiver just a couple years ago, and last season people may not know, and they might have forgot, because he ended up getting hurt and was out for the remainder of the season. But he started on fire. He had multiple games of 20 fantasy points per game. The dude is immaculate at route running. Stafford should be back. He should be healthy, or healthy-ish. We all know how Matthew Stafford is. A lot of times he plays hobble, but he should be healthy enough to get the job done, and it could become the Cooper Kupp show. He's another guy Cooper Kupp could outperform Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, and Stefan Diggs and be the #1 wide receiver in fantasy football. Nobody would bat an eye at that because they know the talent that Cooper Kupp does possess. So he's somebody you can probably get late second round, mid second round, something like that, and be the steal of the draft. Just 2 years ago, Cooper Kupp was getting drafted super high. So, or mostly it was last year, he was getting drafted super high, and he was a bust. Terrible taste in your mouth. Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, kind of the same thing happened. You draft them super high, they end up getting hurt, and then your season's kind of ruined. But Cooper Kupp definitely sitting here, landed at number 8 for me. He's very consistent, great hands, and I know for a fact he is going to have a nice breakout season this season. He's going to come back healthy, going to come back strong, and he's going to really produce for your fantasy teams. So let's go ahead and go over to number 9 now, and I'm going to say AJ Brown. AJ Brown, immediate rapport with Jalen Hurts. They end up pushing all the way up into the Super Bowl, and it's because of this connection. Yeah, they do have Devonta Smith, but AJ Brown is the big guy, the big kind of go-to guy. When you want that long touchdown pass, when Jalen Hurts is in trouble and he's scrambling around, he's looking for his friend AJ Brown. Somebody that you can kind of really depend on. He's a good cornerstone for your team in the second round. You can start out with a nice running back, come back and grab him in the second round. I think you're going to be solid. You can easily start your draft with some type of running back, whether it be Nick Chubb or whoever you want in that first round. Swoop back around, grab AJ Brown. You should be solid, a good cornerstone for your roster. So let's go ahead and move over to number 10 now. We got somebody falling all the way down in the heavens. That's going to be Derrick Henry. I think he's got maybe 1, maybe 2 more years of solid production left in him. Derrick Henry was the easy #1, #2 overall pick for several years now, and now he's kind of fallen in the graces. I know he got hurt last year, but he still produces. He is the entire Titans offense, and it's not something you can really bat an eye at. You have to make sure you respect this guy because he will run you over. You want to talk about somebody having real fun having on your fantasy team? Draft Derrick Henry. You're going to have a lot of fun. It's a lot of times he can probably produce 200 yards rushing for you, and that is amazing. That's what you want in fantasy football. So let's move over here to number 11. I'm going to have the #1 running back from last year, and that's going to be Austin Ekeler. I have him dropping all the way down here to 11 in my rankings, and there's some reasons for that. Number 1, he did recommend and he requested a trade from the Chargers. So I don't know if they're going to have bias. I think he's still going to be on the Chargers this year. I think they're going to draft another running back. Could be rumored Bijan Robinson coming in there and playing for this guy. If he does that, Austin Ekeler is not going to get the type of workload he did last season. And even if he comes back and they didn't draft anybody, who knows if the Chargers are going to be like, yo, this guy wants to be off the team. He wants to trade. We're not going to use him as any kind of workhorse type of passing down. We're going to give him as little work as possible. Either way, I see his production falling in 2023. And that's why I don't have him ranked up there, and he's at number 11. So moving on along to number 12, we're going to talk about Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb now should be lone running back without Kareem Hunt on the football team. Deshaun Watson, should be the quarterback for the entire season now. The rapport is going to be there. Watson should be able to take those safeties and move them backwards. It's going to give even more running room for Nick Chubb to go out there. I'm excited to see what he's doing. Yeah, he's a little older, but he can still get the job done. He's very consistent. You can get Nick Chubb on your fantasy team late first round. Grab Nick Chubb, put him on your roster, set it and forget it type of guy. He's pretty much matchup proof. He does well in almost every game. That's why I got him in here at number 12. Moving on to number 13. Now we're going to talk about Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is the best tight end by far in the NFL for fantasy football. The dude just gets it done. Patrick Mahomes looks at him, hones it on him, everything. You want first downs, you want 10 yards, you want 20 yards, you want touchdowns. Doesn't matter what you want. Travis Kelce, somebody you can definitely depend on. The thing that a lot of people want to talk about is Travis Kelce. Do I grab in the first round? If he slips out of the first round, he's there in the second round, do you take him? Because if you take a tight end in a redraft league, you're pretty much punting one of these positions. You're not getting that stud wide receiver that you need. You're not getting a stud running back. You're putting a tight end spot. Now, it does give you an advantage week in and week out because you have a set it, forget it type of guy, and you don't have to try to plug and play based on matchups for your tight end spot. But You have to decide, you got to pick your poison. Do you want your tight end, or do you want to not grab a tight end and be able to stream tight ends? So it's totally up to you what you do, but I do have him slotted here at number 13. Number 14, I have slotted up and coming wide receiver. I'm going to say Garrett Wilson. He did an amazing job last season with the carousel of quarterbacks that he had. There's a big rumor out there that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback, and I'm telling you, I could possibly even move Garrett Wilson up a little bit if I see Aaron Rodgers actually going to the Jets. He's very good. He has good poise for he's not a rookie wide receiver anymore, but when he was a rookie, great poise, good route running, great hands. He made some really good catches when the time they needed it the most. So Garrett Wilson, he's only going to continue to improve. He's going to be the premier, if not the number 1 or number 2 overall wide receiver in the next few years. He's going to start overtaking some guys, and I see him dominating for years to come. So let's move over to number 15 now, and I got Devonte Adams. Adams is losing his friend Carr now. In comes Jimmy Garoppolo. We have to kind of wait and see how that report is going to go, but I'm pretty sure Jimmy, if he's going to do anything well, he's going to force feed Devonte Adams. He should be able to get plenty of targets this season to be able to produce for your fantasy team. Yeah, he's getting a little bit older, but he can still get the job done. That's what puts him at number 15 for me. I don't think you'll be disappointed if you're able to grab Devonte Adams in the second round. He can give you some top talent weeks, and I think he's going to be a solid player in 2023. Let's go ahead and move on down to number 16 now. We're going to talk about Saquon Barkley. He didn't get the deal that he wanted. He'll probably end up being on the franchise tag with the Giants. And again, he's going to be the main ball carrier. I don't see him being on the Giants probably after this year, but they're going to run him into the ground. Daniel Jones still doesn't have anybody to throw to. I'm sure they're going to address that in the NFL draft. But as of right now, it's handoff to Barkley right, handoff to Barkley left, handoff to Barkley up the middle, screen pass to Barkley to the right, screen pass to Barkley to the left. I mean, that's pretty much the plays that they're running. And Saquon Barkley is somebody who can be a true bell cow, and he's electric himself. I know he's got the injury-prone label, but last year he showed everybody what he can do and why Saquon Barkley is a top-tier running back in the NFL. So let's move over to number 17, and I'm going to talk about T. Higgins. Now, T. Higgins is somebody who's kind of overshadowed by Jamar Chase, but the dude can straight out ball. He's a nice, big, tall wide receiver with really good hands. He's a good end zone threat. Joe Burrow, he's earned the trust of Joe Burrow. So you've seen even when Jamar Chase was out with injury, T. Higgins steps up. So if Chase is missing and Higgins becomes the number 1 wide receiver for any given week, he's going to produce for your fantasy team. And even when Chase is on the field, sometimes they actually go to Higgins just as much as they go to Chase. So Higgins, I think at 17 would be it's an absolute steal at this ranking. If you can get Higgins on your team, you won't be dissatisfied. They're in a nice, high-potent offense. And even with Joe Mixon, there's a chance that he might not even be back with the Bengals, which means they're probably going to throw even more. I love the situation. I love T. Higgins coming in at number 17 for me. Move over to number 18. We're going to talk about Chris Olave. This guy was a rookie last season, drafted by the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans actually moved up to come get this guy, gave up a lot of draft capital to come select Chris Olave, and boy, did they utilize him in his rookie year. I think he kind of struggled out of the gate. He was still learning some of the plays, but he looked good overall as the season progressed. He ended up really showing out and showing what he can do as he was getting more comfortable into this offense. Now this season, they got Derek Carr coming in. Michael Thomas says he's going to come back. They should have a nice 1-2 punch, and Alvin Kamara should be missing some games, most likely because of legal problems. They do have Jamal Williams coming in. The offense should look really good. Still don't have that bona fide tight end yet. Juwan Johnson should be able to take over that role if they don't draft anybody. But as of right now, Chris Olave is the main guy, go-to type of guy for this offense. You should see him produce at a high level in 2023. Let's go ahead and move on down here to number 19. We're going to talk about another young sensation in Kenneth Walker. So Kenneth Walker, he is absolutely fun to play. You never know. He can juke right, juke left. Boom, you busted out. 40-yard touchdown. See you later, Captain. He's that type of player. I mean, now they got rid of Rashad Penny. He is the bona fide number 1 running back for the Seattle Seahawks. Somebody who is just extremely fun to own, and you can probably get him late second round, and you're going to be very happy that you did. If you start, early in your draft, you grab one of these high-powered running backs, followed up with another running back. You can go running back. you just got to set it and forget it pair of running backs for the entire season, you should be really, really solid with that. So I really like Kenneth Walker this season. We'll see how the draft plays out, see if they add anybody else. But I think either way, Kenneth Walker will be the #1 running back for the Seattle Seahawks and should get plenty of carries. He's that type of guy who can get you 20 carries a game, and that's really what's expected of this guy. He's a bell cow type of dude. He can get you plenty of a boatload of fantasy points. I'm excited for his outlook in 2023. Let's move on down here, and we're going to go to 20th, and I'm going to say Breece Hall. Now, I know a lot of people out there say, yo, Bayou Bengal, why you got Breece Hall down at 20? I got him in the top 10. Well, absolutely. I'd probably have him in the top 10 too, but coming off of the injury that he came off of, it's just a little worrisome. Yes, there's rumors out there and beat reporters are saying that he will be healthy for the beginning of the season, should be rock and rolling, going to be strong and ready to go, but I just have to wait and see when somebody's coming off of a type of injury that Breece Hall had. It's kind of like, go pump your brakes a little bit. This is a redraft league. If you use high draft capital on Breece Hall and he ends up going down early because he came back too early or he wasn't ready to tote the rock, you're going to be in trouble. So it's best to be safe than sorry. But just wait on Breece Hall, see if you can get him in the second round, if you can, or let somebody else jump up there and grab Breece Hall and try to roll the dice. Now, I think Breece Hall is probably one of the best running backs in the NFL. He's got that type of talent. He's got the vision. He's got the speed. He's got everything needed to happen. And if Aaron Rodgers comes, you see what Aaron Jones is doing right now. Breece Hall is going to be able to do the same exact thing. He's going to be a top fantasy running back, but it's all based on health. That's the whole reason why I have him down at 20. So moving along to number 21 on my list, I want to talk about Josh Jacobs. He had a breakout party last season. A lot of people were writing him off, including the Raiders. They just didn't know if Josh Jacobs was going to be the guy. And I think Jacobs came out there and proved everybody wrong. He's like, yo, I can play. I can be a top player and a top fantasy runner, top NFL runner. I can compete with anybody. And he really showed that. People who took a chance on Josh Jacobs last year was absolutely astonished with what he was able to produce. And I think that in 2023, 2024, he's just going to continue to get better and better. And I think Josh Jacobs is a very good running back, could be a good running back for your fantasy team. And that's what makes me put him at 21 currently in my rankings. Let's go ahead and drop down to number 22 overall, and we're going to talk about Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith right now playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's kind of getting, again, overshadowed with A.J. Brown, but there's some games he may not look at A.J. Brown very much, and he's throwing to Devonta Smith almost all the time. So it could be that Devonta Smith type of game. There is some games that he's really blanketed out. You really don't see much. You might get a couple points from him. That's really disappointing. But he's pretty consistent on the points where he's going to get you some type of points, whether it be 7, 8, 9, maybe even closer to 10 points a game. And that's really solid, what you want for your wide receiver 2. Again, I probably wouldn't want Devonta Smith for my wide receiver 1, but I think he's solid enough to be a high-end wide receiver 2 for your team. Let's go ahead and move on down here to number 23, and I'm going to talk about Travis Etienne. This is another guy who's pretty consistent. He's the main running back right now for Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. She was showing what he can do. He can catch the ball on screens. He can run up the middle, which was, when he was coming out of college, that's what my biggest worry was with him, was can he tote the ball up the middle? He surely can. He can do anything that he wants to do. He's a solid fantasy running back. Again, probably not one of those top tier type of guys, but I think landing him in 23 is definitely feasible for me. He's a good RB2 for your fantasy team if you want to go ahead and go that route, but he can kind of do it all, kind of a jack of all trades. Like I said, he can get you the receptions. It's definitely in a half-point PPR league or even a full-point PPR league. He's going to give you a little bit extra in those categories. So let's go ahead and sum things up here with number 24 right now. And I've got Amon Ross St. Brown. Right now, I know a lot of people probably got Amon Ross St. Brown a lot higher than this. I just think there's going to be some type of regression on St. Brown this year. I think that eventually, now that there was suspended for Jameson Williams for ended up, betting on these other sports while in the facilities, there's going to be a couple games where Amon Ross St. Brown will probably be the main go-to guy. But once he comes back, I just see St. Brown type of maybe regressing just a little bit. I think people just need to pump their brakes just a little bit. I think he's a very good wide receiver still, and I think he can produce for your fantasy team. I just think people are drafting him a little bit too high right now. I'm just going to take a wait and see type of approach. So other than that, that is my top 24 rankings for 2023 redraft pre-draft. And well, again, I'll have to see how the draft goes and who where everybody goes to see if rankings can go up and down. Depending on what kind of spots, I might be able to grab some of these rookies and throw them into the rankings as well. It all just depends. You got to look at opportunities and placements and things like that. But I appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you watching the video today. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if I forgot anybody or if you think somebody should be in the top 24. I would love to have a discussion with you guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. But other than that, I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.